everyone! This video will be a tiny bit different, as right before I started working on the script, I learned something that honestly kinda surprised me. So prepare for a dramatic reveal. In the meantime, say, what do you think about my new model? Is it fun? Cool? Okay, that's enough. Someone roll the intro, I need to blink! Hi, hello! I'm Oak, a VTuber and a craftsperson. On this channel you can find various informative videos about approaching specific hobbies while on a very tight budget and with environment in mind. If you're a hobby hunter like me and you enjoy anything creative, consider subscribing. And now, let's get back to the topic. I need to start by saying that I'm not a huge Funko figurines fan. Their concept does not work well with half of the designs out there, which you can especially see when the mold breaks its own rules to give characters a big nose, somewhat detailed snout, or even not black eyes. It's not the best figurine brand out there, but at the same time it's the cheapest, which means many more people can afford them and enjoy the sight of their favorite character standing on the shelf. And the same face syndrome actually works in a way, as it's really easy to imagine a character translated into Funko look, which means people want and do that. It's giving doll customization, but everyone has a square head. And you know, it's not like I myself don't own a few of those figurines. Here's my collection, feel free to judge me in the comments. So how exactly one can customize them? I admit it's a bit of a tricky endeavor, especially if you want to buy figurines secondhand. Most of the time, your creative vision will get crushed by the concept of supply and demand, which in other words means that the figurines you'd like to have as a base may be out of your reach. Especially if you live in the neglected child part of Europe, where the second-hand pool is super small and repetitive. So first, you need to adjust your expectations. Look at your local not eBase and find out what is there. Then think of how could you portray your character using figurines that are in your reach. For example, I once wanted to make a Tiefling part figurine, and of course, characters like Jaskier or Avril Lavigne would be perfect for that. But unfortunately, polls at that time were having a soft spot for Suicide Squad, which means there was Jokers and Harleys galore, and not much more. So I bought one of them, made a base out of toothpick dispenser, because of course the original was not included, and turned the bat into a loot. So if we compare it to my initial concept, the pose changed, but the character still got portrayed quite nicely. Hairstyles are another difficulty. You see, Funko Pops are made of hard plastic, but heads and hairstyles are made from vinyl, which means it's easy to behead the figurine, but any tries at sanding the hair down will turn into a never-ending struggle. Especially if you're doing it by hand. So the best options for the easy customization is to look for the figurines that have the closest hairstyle to the one from your vision, as it's much easier to sand down and sculpt new clothes than it is to do the same on the head. Of course, that takes us to another difficulty, which is sculpting on such a small scale and doing it on the already assembled model. Depending on how good your sanding job was, it can be somewhat easy or super annoying. I should also mention that if any part of the figurine is more elastic than the main body, it means it's a different type of plastic, and it's better to not sculpt on those parts with typical clay. Foam clay or any other elastic one will work much better in cases like this. Of course, if your character has animalistic traits or is an animal, you will need to modify and sculpt much more elements. In that case, I suggest to look at how the original Funko stylized those elements and try to emulate it. And if you want to make a base, it's very easy. You can make it flat or raised. The former will look more like the original ones, but the latter will be more sturdy, and in my opinion, better looking. You can make both options from cardboard or plastic piece that is in the right shape, like mentioned earlier, toothpick packaging. You can either paint it, cover it with thin layers of polymer clay, or sculpt decorative elements and glue some fake moss for the vibes. And if you choose the raised base option, you can also add a placket with a character name. So cool! As you can see, customizing a Funko figurine is a rather easy endeavor, but one that requires a lot of compromises and embracing the imperfection. So then the question arises: how come some people make such nice customs? With perfect poses, neatly sculpted clothes, and hairstyle matching one-to-one to the original design of the character. Well, dear viewers, here comes the twist. Those beautiful customized Funkos are not customized. Those are sculpted from the ground zero figurines that only emulates the look of the popular brand. And you need to admit, they look gorgeous. I once saw a Bridgerton fan-made customs and was truly in awe. All the dresses, accessories and hairstyles were top-notch. Male characters had a nice facial hair and all, it was truly something. But then you look at those photos, not knowing those are handmade figurines, and wonder why your custom doesn't look as neat as those. And this is the part that slightly shocked me. Because I also thought those are all customized / modified already existing figurines, not original pieces of work. And sure, no one hides the fact that those originals are sculpted from the ground zero. You can find hundreds of videos on TikTok and YouTube proving that, but photos of the final products, those can't tell you that. And so I started thinking, is Funko customizing even a thing? Have I been bamboozled this whole time? No, of course not. There are other people who modify existing figurines. But we need to admit, customizing something and sculpting to emulate that something, those are two different crafts that shouldn't be compared to each other. And I think the problem could be solved if sculptors decide to make figurines in their own styles. We customizers are already trying to decrease the number of those branded, soulless copy-pastes. Why are you tempting them to make more? I'm kidding. Do whatever makes you happy. I couldn't call myself a mage of creation if I didn't endorse it. Also, if you can sculpt, no, I'm jealous of you. Sculpting is one of those crafts that I hugely admire, but I also know I'd be suffering trying to create something myself. And so, on the shelf it goes, to be remembered, cried over, and occasionally forgotten. Do you have any customized Funkos? Would you like to try it out? What characters would you make? Tell me all about it in the comments. That's it for today. Last video of the Spring Spinning collabs will be next week, so click the bell to not miss it. Hope you have a lovely day. Bye bye!